We are live from Oxford, Mississippi, and Massachusetts. I can't remember the name of the town, but
Boston. You could just say
oh,
Boston.
you're in Boston. That sounds good. Yeah, Boston and Oxford. They're both famous towns. So,
Right.
welcome to Pete's Marketing Masters. Uh, I'm Steve Green, your publisher and founder of PMQ Magazine, website and newsletter with 200,000 print and digital human connections to the leadership of the pizza industry. And if you have any questions for Bruce, uh, please add your questions in the chat. So this is a live interview. However, we're not going to waste your time. As a former pizza operator, I know your time is very important. And so what Bruce and I did yesterday was we had a pre-conversation, and I discovered all sorts of brilliant gems which you're not going to want to miss. And uh, and so what we've done, uh, we've talked about these things. I've got a list of them, and so I'm ready for you to knock this out of the park, like they do in Fenway, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So Bruce, to me, the most important thing I think our readers should know about is your philosophy and practical advice about consistency in social media marketing. So why don't we just start right there? That made the top of my list, and
Sure.
so let's talk. Would you give me your speech that you gave me yesterday about the importance and details in being consistent with social media?
Sure thing. Thanks for having me. First of all, I appreciate you having me join you
You're so welcome.
on the
You're
show
so
today.
welcome.
So the number one question I get is, hey, about what platform people should use, or how often people should post, or what types of content people should post on social media. And we use social media as a way, or we try to teach people to leverage social media as a way to get the word out there about your business. And the number one thing you need to do is be consistent with it. It's like I always go back to my days operating and think about I try to correlate marketing to hiring. And you always seem to go through peaks and valleys. You have a lot of people on staff, so you don't interview, you don't send out help wanted ads, or you don't start looking for people because you have enough people on the schedule. Then what happens is a few people leave, you start advertising for help, you start doing some interviews, maybe you hire a couple more people, and that peak comes again. And then there's that valley because people leave. And then you do the job process again, and then people leave. So there's always peaks and valleys. Marketing's the same thing. You get real busy, you don't have time, you stop marketing. What happens? Your business suffers a little bit. People forget about you. Maybe the other place down the street markets a little bit more. So the number one thing you have to do when it comes to marketing is come up with a system and a plan to stay consistent. It's better to be consistent with your marketing versus trying to come up with the best type of content and spending all of your energy and all of your time trying to figure out what video I should make. Just put stuff out there, because what's going to happen is you're going to have data. If you are consistent with something for 30 or 60 days, you're going to have data to go back and look at as to what worked on that platform. Then you can look at what worked and produce more of that, and what didn't and produce less of that. So being consistent over time is far more important than trying to rack your brain about what to post. Just put it out there. You'll get better at it as you go. I promise you that.
Great. One of the other things that you mentioned yesterday was, everybody feels a little challenged by social media, especially when they first started.
Yeah.
And you talked about sort of evolution of this, where you've seen some people and perhaps recommended it, where people will use their employees uh, to create content, and they're asked to come in early, or how do you explain how to bolster your content through your employees?
The younger generation of people always know what's trending and what platforms are up and coming, like TikTok was a couple of years ago, or there's an app right now called Paparazzi, which a lot of the younger generation of folks are using, which maybe we'll touch on later. But the younger generation of folks always have their finger on the pulse of what is happening in the world when it comes to content, what's popular, and what platforms you should focus on. So we have somebody in our group who instead of having people come in early or have extra hours. And there's always, as a business owner, regardless of what business you're in, you're always trying to engage your staff, and you always want to keep your staff engaged with the job. But sometimes it gets monotonous. The job is the same. When you're a pizza, you're open Mondays or Mondays, Tuesdays or Tuesdays. You know, the seasons change, it gets busier, it gets slower, but for pretty much every day, the day is the day. It is what it is. And after a certain amount of time, employees get bored. And the younger generation of folks want to be engaged. They want to be invested in the business. So we have somebody that I know that instead of giving them extra hours, what he does is to keep them engaged is he lets them come in an hour or two early before the shift starts and create content on the platforms that they like to use and they think would help the business grow. So they spend an hour or two not every day. I think it's once a week. They come in for an hour or two. It's 2 hours for them. They get paid for it just like they would the regular hourly rate. But for them, it's exciting because they're doing something that they actually like to do, which is create content on these platforms, and they're actually getting paid to do it. And then what he does is he has them create content. Hey, what's trending on TikTok? What's trending on Instagram Reels? They don't use Facebook, so they're not really creating content for that. But what's trending on these platforms that they can incorporate into the business that they have? And then what he does is he has them save it to Dropbox, and then he pays them for the hours that they created the content. And if they use the content later on, maybe he throws them a $10 or $15 gift card because they came up with something that they actually use to market their business. And he's been doing this for a year now, and he not only gets a lot of content out of it, but he's learned a lot about the platforms because the employees who spend a lot of their off time hanging out on TikTok and consuming content are helping him create content for his business.
Wow, that's great. So you could pay for a social media consultant, or you could just pay your employees and they can teach you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can pay for a consultant, but what I find is when it comes to paying for marketing companies or consultants, a lot of the content that they come up with is kind of bland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's safe. And no marketing company wants to go overboard with the content and be edgy with it because they're afraid of getting fired. But if you talk to your employees, the employees are in the business. They know your business. They know what your customers are like. They know the context of the content. They know the style of voice that is going on inside of the business, which most marketing companies or consultants don't know. So when they come up with the content and the captions for the content, they know the voice of the business, which resonates way better on social media than just boring generic content and just posting to post, not really knowing what to post or like how to connect with the customer in your area.
Oh, that's so true. And their viewpoint is closer or very close to that of a consumer. Yeah. So in a way, they might know consumers better than the owner of the business would, who is going to be pretty centric about their business.
Yeah, they talk to the customers every day.
Right. Okay. So if somebody does create content on Facebook, the idea is that you can save that to Dropbox, and then from there, can you reformat a portrait to a landscape, or when you get into the finer details of editing, is that a problem, or how do you edit and go from one social media form to another?
So you have to really think about the platform that you're marketing for. And, you know, you need to look at where you're located and who your customer base is, because that's going to really tell you what platform you should be on. You know, in Boston, Instagram and TikTok are the platforms where the most people are on. In, you know, if you're in, you know, Iowa or Montana, maybe it's Facebook. It really depends. It's not one. There's no one way to do it across the board. You have to really look at where your customers are and what you're comfortable doing, and then create content for that. When it comes to editing, your phone has so many. If you have an updated iPhone or any updated smartphone that's made in the last couple of years, you have a ton of editing capabilities on that phone that you don't really need any apps or anything. You could create a video inside of the TikTok app, download that to your phone, crop the video size so it fits into an Instagram post, or Instagram Reels is the exact same size as TikTok. So you can just post it right to Instagram Reels. If you want to use that for Facebook, just crop the video down, so it's formatted for the right size for Facebook, and just post it there. It's very easy to do it with the phone nowadays.
Okay, so you mentioned that the top top social media in Boston are Instagram and TikTok. What if you're in Montana? How do you find out? What do you just look up the top 10 social media and see how do you determine what's most popular in an area?
I mean, it's usually age dependent, right? Like if
Uh-huh.
you're a couple years ago, TikTok was very skewed young, 18 below or 21 below was a heavy amount of people were on TikTok who are in that age demographic. So I think it really goes
Hmm.
by age. It always skews older over time. When Instagram first came out, it was very much a picture app for kids. Kids placed pictures on there and they were connecting on the platform. And then as it grew over time, more older folks realized that it's a cool app. They saw the kids using it and they hopped on, and now it skews a lot older. Facebook started in a college, on a college dorm. Like Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook as a way to connect college people. When it first came out, it was only for colleges. Then he
Hmm.
realized that a lot of people wanted to connect with friends across the world, and he opened it up to everybody else. Now, as new platforms come out, the younger folks hop on those new platforms, and us older folks tend to stick to the old ones that we like until we get comfortable on a TikTok. And that's why the age range on TikTok right now is skewing older than it did a couple years ago, because we've seen all these young kids having fun on there. And we say, hey, what's this TikTok thing? We hop on there, you spend an hour scrolling through TikToks. You're like, this is a pretty fun app. I'm going to check it out a little bit
Yeah.
more. So it really is age dependent most of the time.
Right. So there's a real life cycle going on here on social media applications, and they skew older. And so what that implies, a prudent marketer would be to be looking for the next the youngest thing in line that's ready to blossom into a viable marketing tool.
Yeah, what
So
happens to us too as
yeah,
restaurant owners, we're always late to the party.
yeah,
We're always late. We always
yeah.
see it. We always see TikTok coming in. I don't have time for TikTok. I'm super busy
Right.
behind the counter. I don't have time for TikTok. 2 years ago, people will come to me, Bruce, I don't have time for TikTok. I'm not creating videos where I sing and dance. Fantastic.
Hmm.
Now everybody comes to me, Bruce, how do I create videos for TikTok? 2 years later.
Hmm.
And it's great. But those people who did hop on the trend, there are a couple pizzerias who 2 years ago were creating content for TikTok, and they're way ahead of people now when it comes to recognition and attention on the platform, because they were early to adapt to it.
Hmm. Okay. So what would you uh, recommend? What if they say, Bruce, the world's so big, I don't have the time to go after all these social media targets. What's your strategy for being able to manage and take on the social media uh, opportunity?
I don't think you should be on every platform.
Hmm.
If time is an issue for you, I think you should try to
Right.
figure out the one or two that the most people in your area use. It's always the
Hmm.
80-20 principle, right? If you look at your demographic in your area, 80% of the people are on 20% of the platforms. Usually works out
Hmm.
that way. So
Okay.
it might be Instagram is the place where a lot of your people who live around your restaurant are on. And you say, all right, you know what? I have to pick one platform that I'm going to really try to learn. I'm going to stick with Instagram, and I'm only going to do Instagram, and set yourself a period of time to learn it and really
Hmm.
go deep into it. It's probably going to be 3 months, 4 months. I'm going to
Hmm.
really learn how to produce content and engage with people on Instagram. That's all I'm focusing on. And then
Hmm.
over those 3 or 4 months, you're going to learn what content works. You're going to learn how to produce content on that platform really well. You're going to build a small following in the beginning, but that's going to grow over time. And then when you get to the fourth month, the types of content that you produce in month 4 is going to be 100 times easier for you to produce than it was in month 1 when you're just trying to learn everything. And then at that point, you can be like, all right, you know what? In month 1, I was spending an hour a day trying to produce content for Instagram. That same content for me now, 4 months later, only takes me 10 minutes a day to produce. So what are you going to do with that other 50 minutes? Learn the
Hmm.
next platform. Maybe you start moving on to TikTok. All right, my Instagram platform is down. I know what I'm doing there. Now I'm going to move on to TikTok and try to, for the next 3 or 4 months, learn how to leverage the attention that people are on TikTok for.
Hmm. That sounds a lot like the 30-day challenge. Uh,
Yeah.
that's something that you challenge your customers on that, don't you, or your
Yes.
audience?
Yeah,
To
inside
take
of
the
our
30-day challenge, and that's not dumping a bucket of water on somebody or anything. This is
no, it's content related.
okay.
We had a 30-day Instagram challenge inside of our one of our groups where you had to create a piece of content every single day for 30 days. It could be a reel, it could be an IGTV, it could be a video, it could be a regular photo post, and you had to like research hashtags. And for 30 days, you're diving deep into how to leverage Instagram for your pizzeria. And I'm telling you, the thing happened after 30 days. There's something happens when you stick to something for 30 days and you do it and you stay consistent and you give yourself a timeline of what you're going to do over those 30 days. And everybody who got to the 30-day mark saw their Instagram reach dramatically improve. They grew their following. They got much better at creating content. And they were just having an easier time creating content for Instagram over those 30 days. It's amazing what can happen when you stick to something. Now, inside the 30-day challenge, it was a 30-day thing, right? So if you got the day 15 and you skipped the day, you had to start all over. And there's something to the fact that there's something that's going to happen if you don't stick to it. It makes you stick to that 30 days because if you get to day 20 and 21 comes and you're like, I don't have time. You make time because you don't want to have to start it all over again and have to do the 30 days from zero if you're already made it to day 21.
Well, if you've reached day 30 and you've been doing a post a day, I would imagine how much easier is the 30th day's work than the first day's work?
It's much easier too. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm not creative. I don't know what to post. I'm not going to be able to come up with 30 ideas of what to post to social media, but there's something that happens with your brain that when you do something over and over and over again, it just gets easier as you go. And you'll find yourself, the first 10 are going to be a struggle because you've never really created content before. But when you get to 11, 12, 15, 20, you're going to have so many ideas. You're probably going to need a notebook to write down all the ideas you get for Instagram or whatever platform it is you choose, because you're going to really have developed that creative part of your brain for social media. And it's going to start to kick in.
That is so true. I know people have been for 23 years, people have been saying, how can you publish a magazine about pizza? Don't you run out of ideas?
Right.
And I tell you, I see more ideas now into it 23 years than I ever did in the beginning of this journey.
Yeah.
And
so
I think you develop microscopic vision and you just see more and you get more out of less. So that's a great point.
It's like going to the gym, right? When you go to the gym in the beginning, it's hard. You go to the gym one day and you start lifting some weights, and the next day you're so sore. But after doing it for a couple of weeks, your body gets used to it. Your muscles get used to it, and they start to grow.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing I commented yesterday was how cool your studio looks.
Thank you.
And I thought it would be worth it to people that have studios to divulge your secret or a couple of incremental improvements that you've made over the last year or two. And do you want to have the honors of explaining why you look so cool today?
Well, it's a gradual improvement over time, kind of like marketing, right? When I first started the podcast and doing live shows, I had a little webcam that was on my computer, really bad lighting, horrible microphone, but you got to just start. A lot of people wait for the perfect time to start, and that perfect time never comes. You have to start with what you have, and then you'll notice that when you do the show, I was like, oh, my camera's terrible. Like going back and looking at these, like you can barely see me. The lighting's terrible. All right, let me upgrade my camera. So I got a new camera. And then I'm going back and listening to the audio, and I was using a USB mic for my podcast. And I'm like, you know what? The audio could be much better. Doing these podcasts for a lot. I think it's time to upgrade my microphone. So I upgraded the microphone. And then you just do that over time. Same thing when you're doing creating content for your pizzeria. Start with what you got. Start with your phone. Create content with your phone. Your phone's camera is 1,000 times better than any camera, Steve, you had 20 years ago. Right? 20 years ago, the camera, when you're out shooting content at these pizzerias, you're taking these big, huge cameras, and they're very expensive, and they're hard to use because you really need to know exactly what you're doing in order to get the right photo right. Today, you just whip this thing out, take a photo, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
That photo you could use for any platform, even almost a web, or even like a website or a brochure. You could use it for
Right.
if you really get the lighting right. So
Yeah.
just start with what you have. Don't overdo it. Don't think about it too much. Start with what you have and improve over time. And that's exactly what I've done with the podcast and the videos.
Can we see your lights that give you that blue cool?
So I got these
tint?
little, so like the little blue tint, I got these little lights right here.
There you go.
And then over here, so on the bottom, they're not even on. Let me turn those things on. So I got it on my phone. I can turn it on with my phone. Hold on a second. Let me see if you can see.
Oh, you're so high tech. Yeah.
You can see it turn on. See how it turns on right there?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
It's just one of these things on the ground. So I have one of these lights.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
On the ground. Illuminates the background a little bit. Shoots the video up. Just makes the camera I have right now zooms into my face, a little bit blurry background, the light popping in the background just makes it look a little bit more professional, even though I'm very much an amateur.
Right. Okay. And so today you make no apologies for pizza operators to worry about the slickness of their photography or I mean, you mentioned before that raw natural content would you say that it's preferable?
I think yes.
You think might even be preferable.
It depends on what you're doing, right? It depends on what you're doing. If you're going to create a website or a brochure, you maybe want not to be as raw. But for social media, social is the part of it. And overproduced content on social media, especially in the last 2 years, just doesn't perform as well. People don't want to be sold on the platforms. They don't want it to look like a commercial. They don't want it to look so professional that it looks like it's coming from a business. And it looked like it's coming at it from an angle of trying to sell you something. That worked 3 or 4 years ago. But right now, people just want real, raw, natural videos, like what's happening in the moment. Those seem to perform the best when it comes to engagement and growth on these platforms. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I was comforted to know for people that want to do just on the fly editing is that there is a voiceover function that you were talking about that you can take a series of photos or videos and then do the voiceover when you have quiet, because pizzerias are very noisy.
They are.
But so could you talk about that for 30 or 40 seconds?
Absolutely. So on TikTok and Instagram Reels, you can create a video, but sometimes when you're in your pizzeria environment, the oven's on, the hood's on, the AC's going, there's a lot of chaos in there. There's a lot happening. So you don't want to necessarily put that content out there, because although a lot of people don't necessarily have the volume up when they consume the content that you're producing on TikTok or Instagram, there may be some of them that want to hear what's going on. You could easily add captions to any video. There's tools out there to do that. But TikTok has this cool feature. It's called a voiceover. And if you go on any food related channels on TikTok, you're going to see video that is jump cut along. So they've taken different videos and they kind of put them and spliced them all together. Maybe they'll take a popular song and put that in the background on low. But what they do is once they put that video together, TikTok has a voiceover feature on the app that lets you talk about what's happening on the video you just created, no matter where you are. So it comes in nice, crystal clear. There's no ovens or hoods on in the background. So you can talk and describe about what's happening in your video, and you don't hear all the noise of the kitchen going on behind you.
Okay. Let me take a look at my the questions that I wanted to make sure that you got.
When it comes to that feature as well, it's a little bit tricky to use in the beginning, but like anything, you got to set a deadline for yourself. You can dive deep into it and you'll get to be super comfortable with it over time. Like anything, it's hard at the beginning and easy over time.
So what if you're one of the people that haven't done social media yet and they just feel uncomfortable about it? Do you have a strategy for them to dip their toe, or what can somebody that is just so shy, or what can they do? Just
get over it. Get over it. Yeah. What are you so shy about? I've never seen a video on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok that's appropriate. Okay. Let me just put that out there. I've never seen a video that's appropriate that I scrolled by where someone's talking about what they do. And I looked at it and I'm like, I'm never going there ever in my life because of the shirt that person has on, unless it's offensive. But let's be honest, if you're producing content, you're not going to be offensive. You're just going to be yourself. Don't overthink it. Don't think about it too much. You are going to be uncomfortable with it in the beginning. It's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Not here to pretend and tell you that everything's going to be okay and it's going to be super easy. You're going to be awkward. You're going to look silly. Your videos are probably going to be terrible when you go back and look at them later. But the only way to improve and get better at doing something is to do it. You can't listen to a podcast. You can't watch a YouTube video. You can't read a blog post about creating content and get better at it. You can only get better at it by actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's a great point. A test to prove that you're right is when you're being convinced to go to a pizzeria or not. If you look at a picture of a pizzaiolo or a pizzaioli, and compare that to some kind of a logo, which one makes a human connection? There's no contest. For you to even make any kind of a human connection, unless it's offensive, you're ahead of the game. You're gonna be able to make some connections, and that's the first step of a sale.
And you know what? Be okay with the fact that not everybody is going to like you. Sometimes as business owners, we try to please everybody. And in pleasing everybody, you never really find your core customer base. You know, you need to be putting things out there that do make people turned off. And not because you're being a jerk or because you're saying something that's inappropriate. But I mean, like, not everybody's going to like what you do. Maybe someone doesn't like Neapolitan style pizza, and that's okay. Like, don't try to have 17 different styles of pizza because you don't want to lose a customer. Do what you do well, talk about that, and you'll find the people who are your core customer that are going to buy from you for a long time.
Okay. I got okay, we're almost out of time. So now I can go to something that I've been wanting to do. So we covered the essential Bruce Irving points that I wanted to make sure, but I also wanted to do a lightning round with you.
Okay.
And I had an article in a PMQ back in 2009, and I identified over the last 10 or 15 years up to that point, there are some new ways. But what I did was identify the 11 ways that you can sell a pizza.
Okay.
And they have to do with different approaches to selling the pizza. And I'd like you to suggest a picture that would help sell the point, because in a picture world, in a world of pictures, that's social media.
Okay.
So the most popular, in order of the most popularity, the number one way of selling a pizza, and this might be easy for you, the number one way people sell pizza is by demonstrating or illustrating or showing quality.
So I would do a video. It wouldn't be a photo. It would be a video of you creating a pizza, right? Creating that pizza. And as you create that pizza, talking about the ingredients that you're using and why you're using those and what makes that the best ingredients that you could use.
Excellent. Okay, the second or another quality that people use is a magnet to bring customers into their store, is to emphasize that they have variety.
Okay. So that would be easy. That would be a carousel ad. A carousel ad is when you go to Instagram and you see these photos where you can swipe to the right and there's just multiple photos. I would easily do a carousel post about all the varieties of things that you have.
Okay. Delivery.
See, I think being creative and thinking out of the box makes you stand out. I would literally have somebody follow one of my drivers around with a creative video of a day in the life of one of my delivery drivers, and I would put that on YouTube or IGTV.
Okay, carry out.
Now, that's a little bit trickier. I would, I think that it's assumed that most people do carry out for pizzerias. You know, obviously Neapolitan style pizzerias don't travel well, but what are you using to make your pizza stand out when it comes to carry out, because a lot of people get a pizza and it's not the same as if they get it in. So maybe I would produce a photo of the thing I use in the bottom of the pizza or the boxes that I use to make my pizza stand out for carry out.
Or maybe a picture of somebody opening the box at home and talking about, wow, this is great with Super Bowl or something
Exactly.
like that.
Feature a customer eating pizza at home, like have a contest or something like that.
Okay. What about the personality of the owner? That's a big magnet.
It is, but I don't think every owner has the personality for social media. I think the key is to find if you do. Like there are some very charismatic owners out there. I talk to them on the podcast quite a bit. But there's also some that aren't. I think what you need to do as an owner is your job as an owner is not only to obviously have a successful business, but it's to put people in the right spot and to find things inside of somebody that they don't know they have that you can pull out of them. And if you're not charismatic on camera, then have somebody on your team that you work with, find that person that can help you. But if you are charismatic, you're going to have a way easier time because there's one thing that you have as the owner that an employee won't have is you have interest in the business. So you're not going anywhere. So you have time. And I think that if you have charisma as an owner, it's going to be way easier for you to create content on social.
Yeah. Well, I think personality is not so, I mean, it doesn't have to be charismatic. When you think of Seinfeld's The Soup Nazi, there were people standing in line to go there. So, but just letting people know that I'm not a national logo. I'm a real person that lives in your neighborhood. So
that being said,
so
I don't know if the Soup Nazi would handle 2021.
Well, that could very well be. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Okay. One strategy that a lot of people use is using a premium offer to get them to buy a pizza, to get your customers to buy a pizza. A picture of the premium, obviously, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that would be more in the copy, right? Like I think having someone sign up for your app or hop onto your email list in order to get incentives to buy from you is still a big way. And then like obviously having an email sequence or even a bot that communicates with people that can, send the message back and forth. I think that would be a good thing to do for content when it comes to like a premium offer. If you're going to give someone a premium offer, you want to get something in return, which is usually like a phone number or an email address.
Okay. Let me read the rest of these off and then let you think about them. And if anybody wants to put in the comments which one they like the best, maybe I could rank order these in terms of the popularity of these. But the deal, premium offer, contest, entertainment, and that can be live music, comedy nights, whatever. And then charities, if you're involved with a charity, that's another way to get people to come in. And the last one I've got on my list is healthy living. So if you want to take any of those, I think healthy living. I think that's today in 2021, that's probably got to be higher up on the list. If you were to create that list again today, I'm sure that would be up towards the top 5 for sure. 5 years ago, gluten-free category was pretty popular. It was coming on the scene. Now everybody has a gluten-free version of their pizza. That's good. Not just a gluten-free version to say they have a gluten-free version. Usually the gluten-free versions today are much better than they were 5 years ago. I think vegan is the next gluten-free. I think vegan today is what gluten-free was 5 years ago. A lot of vegan pizzerias are opening today, which I don't know if they would be able to be sustainable 5 years ago. But there's a whole category of people who are younger. Again, those younger generation of folks really set the trends, are really concentrated on the products that they put into their body. And a lot of them have grown up in school seeing these videos about how cattle are herd and how it hurts the environment and how chickens are raised, and they don't want anything to do with that. And they moved to this vegan lifestyle. And I think that trend is going to continue to move older, just like it does with social media. So I think healthy living is very important. And I think a misconception about pizza is that it's not healthy, right? Like I think you can very much create healthy pizzas using the ingredients you already use. You don't really need to do much else. Well, Bruce, you were on fire today. You were smoldering yesterday, but
Thank you.
Yeah,
I like
that's really great.
I like talking about
Yeah.
this for pizzerias. Like I enjoy
Yeah.
this and helping them out. Just like
Very
you.
good. Yep. Yep. I love it. Okay, Bruce, it was a real pleasure to have you. And smartpizzamarketing.com. I know it's not cool to say .com anymore, but because you're a brand, you transcend the internet, right?
Thank you.
Smart
I
pizza
mean,
marketing. Right.
yeah, smart pizza marketing anywhere, any platform, on TikTok, on Facebook,
Yep.
on Instagram. You can find us Smart Pizza Marketing anywhere.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much for being our guest today.
My pleasure.
And let us know in the comments what you think and how you think.
Thanks for having me, Steve. I appreciate it.
Okay, very good.